There was a frequency that someone, somewhere, decided should be hidden. Not because it was dangerous, but because it dissolved whole systems of control. Imagine a single vibration, a ratio of sound and attention, that when matched from inside, opens a small portal in your own mind, a doorway where memory and presence meet. That is what I want to show you tonight. Not to coerce belief, but to offer a method of inner verification, a way to test whether that forbidden frequency is encoded in your own body. First, a brief provenance. In the mid-20th century, a collection of manuscripts surfaced at Nag Hammadi in Egypt, a library of early Christian and Gnostic writings, including texts attributed to groups that thought differently about the divine. Among them is a work commonly called the Gospel of Philip. These writings are not the same as the canonical Gospels. Scholars argue about their dating, authorship, and theological status. What matters here is this. Within these pages and within the oral traditions that surround them are images and practices that point to a cosmology where the human being is not merely a created object, but a carrier of a forgotten signal, a spark from a higher source. If you stay with me, I will walk you through that cosmology in simple terms. You will learn 3 points on the body that, in this tradition, act like tuning pegs. They are not medical tests. They are not guarantees. They are somatic markers, places where, if you shift attention and breathe, you may sense an alignment. That alignment is what some teachers called a forbidden frequency, a pattern that resonates with what the texts call the monad, the primal source of all life. For clarity, when I say forbidden, I mean it was marginalized by many institutional authorities as these alternative streams were pushed aside during historical consolidation periods. I am not asserting a single, settled history. I am inviting you into an exploration. The cosmology is simple, and you can hold it lightly. At the center is the monad, the unbroken source, the original light from which everything emerges. Below that, in some strands of Gnostic thought, a figure called the demiurge shapes the material world. Think of the demiurge as the architect of the visible, a necessary maker whose patterns can also keep attention bound to appearances. Between the monad and you are what these traditions name as archons, not merely beings, but frequencies or patterns that interfere with how you perceive your origin. They cloud the senses. They seed doubt. They keep the inner door closed by teaching you to mistrust what arises in the body. The work we do here is not to demonize institutions or to claim a conspiracy in detail, but to notice that some teachings were left out of dominant religious collections, and that those teachings emphasize direct, embodied knowledge. Now the reveal you came for. 3 marks, 3 points, 3 frequencies. In the tradition we are drawing from, these are described as encoded signals placed into human form by the monad as a way to confirm identity. I will name them plainly and describe how to attend to them. Remember, these are spiritual indicators meant for inner verification. They are not medical diagnostics. If anything I describe causes you concern, stop and seek professional advice. The first mark is at the base of the skull, the place where the head meets the neck. Symbolically, this point is called origin. It is where the lineage of light first touches the vessel. When you direct attention here, you are testing whether the trace of the monad returns when called. You might feel a subtle warmth, a release, a sense of alignment running down into the spine. Or you might notice nothing at all. That is fine. The test is to observe without insisting. The second mark is along the lateral edge of the hand, between the little finger and the wrist, a margin you can discover with gentle sight and touch. This is the mark of perception, the place that one could call second sight. In imaginative language, it is the line where reception between inner and outer meets, an antenna designed to pick up frequencies that the archons would prefer you miss. When you bring attention there, some people report a tingling, a soft electric sense, or a heightened clarity in vision, both inward and outward. Sensations differ widely. The third mark is located on the upper chest, above the sternum. Not deep or forceful, but a center you can place a palm over lightly. This is the mark of command, the seat where a recovered authority speaks through the body. It is not about coercion or domination. Rather, it is the felt sense that your voice is not merely social, but has a source. When this point is engaged properly, there can be a steadying in the breath and a quiet confidence that arises without needing to prove itself. Those 3 points, origin at the base of the skull, perception along the hand, command at the upper chest, form a simple triad. They are not exclusive to any institution, and they are described in different ways across ancient texts. The Gospel of Philip and other Nag Hammadi materials present such ideas poetically. They are part of a stream that cared deeply about memory, embodiment, and the recovery of knowledge that bypasses intermediaries. Before we practice, listen to this. Expect resistance. The archonic interference I mentioned is not an abstract theory. It often appears as immediate thought forms. This is imagination, you're being deluded, you need experts. Those responses are predictable because they protect identity tied to certainty and external authority. The instruction is simple. Notice the thought, do not argue with it, and return your attention to the body. Observation breaks their grip more effectively than rebuttal. If you feel comfortable, settle now into a quiet place where you will not be disturbed for a few minutes. Sit or lie down in a way that feels safe for your body. Keep your breathing natural. We will do a short somatic check, slow and careful. These are exploratory practices. Stop immediately if anything feels uncomfortable and consult a professional if you experience distress. Begin by softening your eyelids and letting the weight of your forehead release. Draw 2 or 3 slower, easy breaths, not forced, simply letting the exhale lengthen by itself. Feel the breath arriving and leaving like a tide. With each out-breath, imagine tension melting away. Now, gently bring one hand to the base of your skull, where your head meets the spine. Place your fingertips there without pressure, just the light contact of presence. Breathe into that place. Notice temperature, tone, any sense of openness or tightness. You might feel a subtle warmth, a cooling, a small ringing, or simply a sense of noticeability. Whatever arises, name it softly to yourself. I notice presence, or I notice warmth, and then return to the breath. If nothing arises, remain neutral. This exercise is not a test you must pass. It is an invitation to observe. Next, open your other hand and look at the outer edge, the side between the little finger and the wrist. With gentle eyes, notice the texture, the lines, the spaces. If you wish, use the fingertips of the opposite hand to trace that edge lightly. Again, no pressure, only curiosity. Bring your attention to that lateral line and breathe into it. Notice any micro-sensations, a tingling, a lightness, a subtle expansion in awareness. Name what you notice without judgment. I notice clarity, or I notice nothing. Either response is valid. Finally, place one palm lightly over the upper part of your chest, above the sternum. Do not press. Simply rest your hand with a feeling of receptivity. Breathe into that center. Notice whether the breath has a different quality, steadier, fuller, calmer. You might sense a quiet authority, a soft affirmation within the chest. You might simply sense your heartbeat, or nothing at all. Be kind with your observations. If at any point you feel distress, chest pain, dizziness, sudden anxiety, stop immediately. These checks are somatic awareness practices, not replacements for medical or psychological care. Take a moment now to hold the 3 points in mind: base of skull, lateral hand, upper chest. Allow a thought to arise and let it be. I am testing. I am curious. I am afraid. Watch these thoughts as if they were clouds passing across a clear sky. The archonic reaction will often appear as an insistence. This is nonsense. You need proof. Observe those phrases when they come. The method here is to witness and return to sensation. When you don't engage the resistance, it usually loses momentum. If anything shifted for you, a warmth, a slight pressure, a clarity of thought, a different tone to the breath, and you feel safe to share, then do a small thing for the community. Type the single word recognition in the comments below. Only do this if you genuinely felt something. This is not a call for affirmation, but a way to seed a quiet community of witnesses. If you felt nothing, you can wait and return to the practice later. There is no failure in silence. Now, for those who wish to proceed with a brief activation, there is a short, 9-word phrase used in these recoveries as a way to align attention and voice. You may say it aloud, softly, if you feel comfortable. You may also simply hold it in your mind. It is not a charm that guarantees outcomes. Think of it as a musical interval you can sing to yourself to tune attention. Place your hands gently as you did in the checks. One at the base of the skull, one above the sternum, and let the lateral hand rest free or lightly touch the edge of the palm if that feels grounding. When you are ready, speak or think these 9 words. I recall origin. I see. I speak with authority. Say them once, slowly, letting the meaning touch the body as you breathe. Notice what happens in the chest, along the hand, at the skull. You might hear a subtle shift in inner tone, like a note resolving, or you might notice nothing at all. Again, do not demand a result. The intention here is to orient you toward an inner frequency that the tradition names as homecoming. After speaking the phrase, remain quiet for a few breaths. Let whatever happened, small or large, settle. If a stream of doubt arises, name it. This is archonic reaction. Do not argue. Let your attention descend back into the sensations you felt during the checks. If anything has changed even slightly, that is enough. An inner verification need not be spectacular. A few cautions and clarifications before we close. The Gospel of Philip and the Nag Hammadi library offer metaphors and images that some find liberating and others find confusing. I present them as texts attributed to early groups who developed a particular set of practices and poetic descriptions about memory and origin. They are not canonical in the same way as other scriptures, and their acceptance varies widely across traditions. Approach them as sources of insight, not as unchallenged doctrine. Do not mistake feeling for absolute proof. Somatic experiences are powerful but subjective. They can be shaped by expectation, by prior belief, by the body's own physiology. I am not offering a universal guarantee that everyone who follows these steps will experience a revelation. What I am offering is a method of embodied inquiry, a way to test within your own field whether a particular pattern resonates. If you ever experience strong emotional upheaval or persistent distress after doing inner work, please seek out a qualified professional, a therapist, a physician, a trusted spiritual counselor. Practices that touch deep memory can release material that deserves careful care. This invitation into somatic verification is meant to be gentle and safe. Prioritize your well-being at every moment. Finally, to reframe what we are doing. This is not about joining a secret club or rejecting other paths. It is about recovering an inner witness that some streams of early teaching insist was always within you. A small, verifiable frequency that confirms origin, perception, and voice. Whether the label archon or demiurge resonates with you, the felt reality, a soft shift in the base of the skull, a light along the hand, a steadiness in the chest, can be its own evidence. If you felt anything at all during the checks, a warmth, a clarity, a subtle pressure, please type recognition in the comments. That single word helps gather a quiet ledger of witnesses without feeding grandiosity. If you did not, that is fine. Come back later and try again. This work is patient. We are not alone in the search. There are others who are rediscovering these signals, not to build temples of secret knowledge, but to rebuild honest conversation about interior authority. In the next session, we will move from verification to anchoring. practical practices, simple daily gestures, and community methods to sustain this frequency without turning it into a performance. If you want to receive that next activation, subscribe so you will be notified when it is released. Remember, curiosity first, compassion always. Attend gently to your body, name archonic thoughts without argument, and seek help if any practice becomes overwhelming. The forbidden frequency I have named is less about magic and more about reclamation. The slow, steady work of recognizing that some part of you remembers its source. Thank you for listening with care. If this message resonated, or if you felt even the smallest sign of recognition, share that single word in the comments and subscribe to join the next practical activation. We will continue this path together, patiently and safely, recovering the small signals that open portals not to escape the world, but to enter it differently, more present, more free, more rooted in origin.